Hi everyone, thank you so much for attending My Gaming Academia. We are exploring the relationship between game development and the academic spaces. As academics, game development is something that is now not only being done by developers within the country, but also it is something that is being studied across different institutions, across different types of people. And we're here to talk about our respective courses and also our experience working within the academic space, fostering the next generation of game developers. So hello to everybody. Hello so much. Thank you so much for coming today. I am your moderator for today. My name is Sophie Aslan. I'm a lecturer over at UW Malaysia, and also I'm an indie studio co-founder, and I'm so happy to be here. So before anything else, thank you for the applause. I appreciate it. I will not heighten your grades, however. So see you on Monday for the briefing. So without further ado, I would really like to have our panelists introduce ourselves. So we'll start with Dr. Ike. Hi.
Hi, I'm Ike. I am the head of school at Asia Pacific University. I'll keep the introductions to a minimum so we have more time to get to the juicy details.
Yep.
Yes, me too. I'll keep the juicy details later. So my name is Nabila. I'm from Nippon Designer School. We are actually a manga illustration school, but we do a little bit. I try to make my students see the beauty of games.
Do they not?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes.
It's all right. So I would like to know a little bit more about Dr. Ike. You are currently affiliated with APU. Can you tell us a little bit about the game development course over there?
Okay, so we just went through a revision. I think APU started in 2007, the games course. But it was what we call the Nescafe 3-in-1, right? So it's game art, game design, game tech. We have just...
Like Nescafe, 3-in-1.
Nescafe, yeah.
Nescafe
So,
course, okay.
So we actually did a total revision. So it's going to be either game art or game tech. So there's a specialization.
Oh,
and that will be running next year.
So they choose a specialization and it's...
Correct. So it's similar to UW.
I see. I wonder why. That's really cool. Ms. Nabila, can you tell us a bit about Nippon Design School?
Nippon Designer School is actually an institution from Japan. They've been around for about 70 years, if I'm not mistaken. So we are the first comic illustration school in Malaysia. So we focus mostly on making comics, illustration, and character designs and things like that. So I need to flex this because have you watched Ajin or even One Punch Man? The artist, not the webcomic artist, but the other artist, I can't remember, Yusuke Murata, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he was a graduate from NDS in Tokyo. So yeah, we have two branches in Japan. One is in Tokyo, the other one is in Fukuoka. Yeah.
So is he going to come to the Malaysia campus?
Not yet. Hopefully one day. Maybe. I know he's a very busy man. No, we know he's a very busy man. Yeah.
We know he's a very busy man. So for context, it's all family here because actually at one point, both of these lovely individuals here were my lecturers when I was a student at UW's game development program myself. So it's really interesting to meet back with everybody here when we're technically all part of the same playing field. That's really fun and interesting. And now I have this wonderful chance to interview them. It's actually really fun because the last time I got to interview each of you was during my Digital Summer Showcase in 2020. Yes, where, it was the first day of fasting month and I said, I will host an online thing because no way my game is getting shut down by the novel coronavirus. So I just went insane. And then I interviewed both of you on a respective live stream. And now here we are in person all these years later as academics. So I will go into the questions, right? Dr. Ike, can you tell us about how game development was like when you first started teaching?
When I first started teaching, there was no games development. Okay, so a little history, right? I think we will have a little time. So when I first started teaching, it was mainly on interactive media. And at that time, right, I think was year 2000, there were a couple of gentlemen that came down from UK. And they approached my university and they said, look, would you guys want to offer games? Because in the next few years, there are a couple of games companies that will set up in Southeast Asia and Malaysia. Right? So, and they did, right? So Codemasters came in 2006. Ubisoft came down to Singapore in 2005, right? So it was sort of a pre-nomination, okay.
Back then.
Right. So anyway, the only reason why I was chosen, right, to study in the UK at that time was because I was the only staff who had the audacity and a bit of stupidity to play games during work hours.
What games
So
did you play? Wait, what games did you play?
Counter-Strike. Okay, together, and my next partner, and these guys, I think everybody, the UW students will know, the other person that played together with me was Julian. All right, so yeah, Julian is the head of school at UW right now, so we were quite naughty, right? So I actually went to UK, University of Teesside, and I actually studied for 1 year games development there. So Teesside University is one of the top UK universities for games development, and they run Animax. And Double 11, the people from Double 11 actually graduated from Teesside University. So I did 1 year of games. I did another year doing my masters, and I came back and we started the games course there. That was in 2005. So just for context, right? The first games course ever to start in Malaysia, a games module to ever start in Malaysia was MMU in 1999. But the first dedicated games program was Lim Kok Wing. That was 2003. We should not say that name anymore, so sorry. So yeah, we started the first games course there. I think about 8 years later, the whole bunch of people from Lim Kok Wing, we went out, we left. There was a mass exodus, and we started the same program at UW. So I
Back
mean,
then it was KDU.
KDU, yeah,
Yeah.
those days was KDU, right? Yeah. So when I first started teaching, it was mainly on this thing called Flash. Flash games was at its height at the time. Yeah. So I taught mainly on casual game development, programming. Yep. But in actual fact, I'm actually an artist. My diploma is graphic design. Yeah. So
Is graphic design your passion?
I think I fell in love a little bit more with programming. Right now, it's more on game mechanics. Yeah, so it's a little bit of all three streams, right? Yeah, so a little journey into history.
It's pretty cool. Miss Nabila, how about you?
So, right, the funny thing is, right, I was from Lincoln as well. He was my lecturer. Yeah. And
It's a
I was part of that. Exactly. It came back the whole circle, you see. So I was part of the games program back in 2010. Yeah. Back then, games for us, I graduated with a diploma in illustration. So I thought, and then I've been playing a lot of games as well, but I did fall in love with the production side of it, as in character design. So I thought like, okay. And at that time, of course, Lim Kok Wing was one of the, I guess, more familiar with game development. And that time, I only know game art. So I don't know anything about programming or designing. So when I came there, like, yo, this is cool, kind of thing. So back then, during our year, games development wasn't really like it was at its height, but not really like shoot off like what we have now currently. There's more studios now. Back then there was only like back then it wasn't EA, it was Polyassets, correct? Oh my gosh, that was such a long time ago. Polyassets, and then we had we did hear of Ubisoft, but that's in Singapore. So everybody in my classmates like, I want to go Singapore, I want to go Ubisoft kind of thing. So yeah, that was like the big deal. The big deal is that to go to Singapore and to Ubisoft. Until my uncle said, are you in Ubisoft now? No. Unfortunately. So yeah, even with my family members and things like that. Yeah, but indie game development was wasn't very popular as well. So only after like when the game jam started, and that's when the indie development companies started coming out, and indie development like individuals doing their own like games started coming out as well. So again, yeah, we did Flash games, and then Unity came out. So we did work around Unity for a bit, and then Unreal came out, and then we did a little bit of Unreal and things like that. So I did love Unity a lot, so I meddled a lot with Unity. Oh my gosh, yeah, we started with XNA. That's like a Flash development.
Do you know what that is? These are my students. Do you know what that is? Oh, God.
Yeah, so I started with XNA, and then like Game Maker, and then we had like so those were some of the softwares that we used for our game development classes, especially with art as well. So we learned how to make assets, import them, and then create the game together with like our classmates, game designers and game programmers as well. Yeah.
Wait, so this was mostly 2D or 3D then?
This is mostly 2D, and then
2D.
and then after that we have again like UOW. We have like first the third semester we had like 2D game art, 2D game development, and then you have 3D game development. So that one that we use Unity program. So that was like the first time we were like, yo, 3D, that's so cool. Yeah, and that time because 3D was, I think 3D was okay lah, not too bad. We most of our what you call this most of my classmates, they know how to use like 3D software. We are taught to use 3D software as well. Yeah, and then final year, then we use Unreal. Then we use Unreal, yeah. So it's like, whoa, Blueprint. Wow, this is so cool. So make like bigger games, like, oh gosh, it's still on Limcowing website. If you want to go, you can just ask me later. I don't want to like expose it here. But yeah, I think, yeah, back then like, they're just like 1 or 2 studios, not even like any indie, maybe if there's any indie studio, like very, very like, we have a lot of production houses, pre-production houses. Outsourcing, yes. Lemon Sky was one of the few places that after graduate will, 2D artists especially, they'll go look for it and work in Lemon Sky. Before Lemon Sky was like, it's not Lemon Sky, it's Igloo Studios. Yeah, it was Igloo Studios. Now they renamed the brand to Lemon Sky. So those are one of the earliest like outsourcing companies in Malaysia. Yeah.
So I just want to contextualize it a bit. When you started getting into 3D game development, right? What was the benchmark for 3D games at that time? Like everyone's like, I want to make a game like that. What was it? Like that would instantly date the time period. Like same thing for Dr. Ike actually. What was it for you? Like what was the benchmark game? It's like, ini terpaling game. We have to make the next thing like this.
Because that time, Assassin's Creed.
It was Assassin's Creed, right?
Assassin's Creed was so popular at
two,
that
right?
time.
Probably two.
The second one,
Yes,
the first
yes.
one and the second one, if I'm not mistaken. And then another one was, because our final year project, we did like a multiplayer game thing. So Mass Effect, I think, was one of the popular ones as well. I think the first one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we decided to like, let's do Assassin's Creed, Mass Effect. Yay!
Were you successful?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I were to tell the games that was the benchmark, then you guys will know my age. It was Medal of Honor, right? When we first started, I think Medal of Honor was the game to emulate. And then there was a game called, we looked back about 10 years ago, it was a game called Myst.
Yes.
Yeah, Myst.
Do you guys know what Myst is? Oh, God.
Oh.
Okay. Myst is cool, okay?
You all need to study history of games, right?
It's okay, I know what I'm doing next week in class then.
Yeah, but the thing is the benchmark kept moving forward, right?
Yes.
I think one of the things we really wanted to do at that time was to do a lot of what the outsourcing studios were doing. So Lemon Sky was doing a lot of key games, yeah. And when Codemasters game came, that was the sort of art direction we wanted to go for, which was actually asset creation, very high definition, low poly asset creation, game environment, vehicle art, because at that time, Codemasters Studios was the place to start.
True.
And I think one of the most successful person, I don't know whether you all do know him, Alit. Yeah, Alit started in Codemasters Studios, Malaysia, went to Ubisoft Singapore, went to Ubisoft Montreal, became the lead art director, world art director for Need for Speed at Gothenburg, Sweden. He was working at EA Motive, went to Unity, and then he came out and started NX3 games, and now he's by himself, right? So that was the sort of the trajectory we actually wanted all students to go through. Get the really high definition asset development and environment art. Yep.
It's kind of interesting because actually, looking at the current students, right, there has been a bit of a rejection of hyper-realism. Students are now like, I want to make something stylized because the impression is that something stylized is timeless and the game will age more gracefully, I guess. And also, some people feel that it's a lower benchmark in order to achieve. Basically, yeah, something stylized. So it's kind of interesting to see how like we went from like hyper-realism to like this sort of rejection of it, and then we're going back to some form of realism, you know? So
it actually depends on what, because now indie game development is coming into the forefront, right? It all depends on where they see themselves. If they want to actually work on AAA game titles, then it has to be hyper-realism.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So things like Bandai Namco, Lemon Sky, Passion. Yeah, you have to actually, if you want to work on AAA games, that's your pathway. But if you want to go on a more independent route and start your own studios and make your own money and go for a little bit more of that own your own sweet flavor, that sounds wrong, then it's your own art style, right? So it's all depends on actually the student.
It's true, that's true. We do have more students who are interested in the indie game development stream, especially because it's like everyone kind of wants to branch out on their own with the way that the local industry is like expanding, right? So I think it's great. It's just that it's a question of if there's enough money to go around, but of course that's a different conversation entirely lah. So let's talk about like the academic side of things again. Can you describe to me the kind of student that comes into your program? Especially because you've got students who come in and they're like, I want to be a game dev. So like, what kind of student is it that comes in there?
Well, okay, so here's the thing, right? So I've been at 3 different institutions,
Yeah.
and the type of students that I get from 3 different institutions, they're all varied.
Yes.
So the university that must not be named, the
that
Black
one.
University, right?
Yes.
The type of students that came in was actually very, they didn't know what they want to do, right?
Oh, okay.
And all they know that I want to play games. I'm good at playing games, therefore I want to study games,
Rookie
right?
mistake.
The UOW students, and this could be different from different generations. When we first started, we had different varieties of students, right? But I think now, because of the brand visibility and everything, I think the UOW students are actually, they do know what they want to do. They may not exactly end up in games at the end of the day. Most of them, I think about 75% end up in games. The other 25, they do end up doing gambling games, so let's not go into that. But
Called gacha now.
so the
terminology.
APU students, right now we usually get the more tech students, and they are computing students that want to study games, want to study programming, but they don't want to go so heavy onto programming.
Oh.
So I can't tell when the new syllabus kickstarts, where there are game art and game tech, what kind of students we get. But generally, if you were to ask me what type of students, I think across all there is a similarity where I want to play games. I grew up playing games. I want to get involved in industry. Now, playing games and doing games is 2 totally different things, as most students have eventually found out, right? So, yeah.
Miss Nabila, how about you?
For us, because we are mostly manga illustration, so a lot of our students come in like, I like to watch anime. I like reading manga. I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with it. We
Yeah.
also like drawing and things like that. So we do open these students to trying different things, like trying different art styles and things like that. So yes, we are mostly comics based, illustration as well, but we do teach students how to maybe create different things and things like that. But most of the students, yeah, manga artists, anime watchers, and also like some of them really loves drawing comics as well. Some of them mostly come with an illustration background.
Okay.
Yeah, they all mostly come out with the illustration background and the will to draw. I like drawing. Okay, cool. That's nice. We like the enthusiasm. So yeah, we also do have people who are adults who wants to come back and pursue their hobby as an artist. So we have like a psychologist, diploma psychologist, and then we also had like a vet who came in to like do 3D animation, if I'm not mistaken. So we also do have 3D animation actually, yeah. So she came back to like just pursue hobbies kind of thing. So our program is mostly diploma as well. So it's like exploring things that they've never explored before, basically. So yeah.
So do you teach them explicitly only in like the standard like manga style, or do you explore different types of illustration? Or
Okay, so because we want to retain that Japan influence, especially manga and anime, so we try to introduce that art style. But students are allowed to like maybe open up to different types of art style as well. So we have different students coming up with maybe their own art style, maybe they have their own like art style that they've brushed up before. So what they want to do is they just want to like expand their skills and learn different things. So they are actually exploring like more stuff rather than just drawing kind of thing. So some of them find that, oh, manga drawing is so fun, like comics basically, right? And then after that, some of them like, oh, I like illustration more kind of thing. So those stragglers like in between don't know what to do. So I did introduce them to, hey, game development. So I did bring them to MDEC's C Game Jam just a while ago, I think a few months back. So some of them actually enjoyed like the process. So that's something that they are looking forward to do maybe after they graduate. So yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, like cultivating the spark of game development even among people that aren't formally studying it. I think that's really interesting. You're doing great work over there. Yeah, and then obviously we all have learned so much from you, Dr. Ike, having cultivated the spark of game development. It's like, you look here, literally, it's like a generational thing that's happening right here. We got 4 generations of game development in the room. It's experienced, lain. So with that in mind, actually, it is something that I am wondering, is it ultimately better for the student to come in with some form of technical skill beforehand, or for them to be completely a fresh slate with only interest and passion as a major driver? So you think about it, right? You got a student who comes in, maybe they don't quite know what they want to do, what they want to pursue, but you know that they can do work. Or is it that the work's a bit wonky, but the drive is there?
I think for areas, well, it depends. If they're going to art, for example, it would help if they have some fundamentals, right? If they are good and they're passionate, they grew up drawing and they really love, they have a sense of art style. But at the end of the day, if you ask me what drives a person to success, and it's the same formula. So if I were to take, for example, computer science and software engineering and companies, or for Lemon Sky, for example, as well, a lot of the studios, they said this: we don't want to hire people with the higher level of technical for now.
Okay.
We want them to have that passion. We want them to have the art style, the eye for detail. And that's more important, right? The ones that, people who can come in and learn the style of the studio and learn the techniques of the studio. Both can go hand in hand. But if you were to ask me which is priority, I think the passion to want to learn, right? Because you can come in with all the skills and all the techniques, and if you and I've seen over the past years, past decades or so, students that come in and they're really talented, but they don't have the drive, they don't have the passion, and don't have the willpower, they'll fall off by the wayside, right? On the other hand, I have got students who had come in with no skill sets, zero art style, and now they're working in some of the major studios out there.
Okay.
So they have built their own, because there is a hunger to learn, hunger to always, so I call it the aggressiveness to learn, or the kiasunism, right? They go in and go like, hey, this is what my colleagues are doing, this is what my classmates are doing, this is what my lecturer is doing. I'm always trying to go one up. Those are the people with the mental ability to succeed. Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's the drive that makes a successful person, whether it's in art, whether it's in design, or whether it's in programming.
So you feel that mostly skills can be taught, but passion has to come from within, basically?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say passion, I say attitude, right? So skills can be taught, attitude has to be ingrained, right? The soft skills also, that's why a lot of universities now are pushing soft skills. Why do you think that most of the people will say, yeah, go for game jams, go for as many game jams as possible? Because in a game jam, you actually learn a lot of the soft part of things. Presentation, conflict management is something that is that's why you all have GPS and group projects and final year projects. The intention is to put teams or put students in a group that intentionally don't get along, so that they will learn a little bit of conflict management, because that's a lifelong skill.
True.
Yeah. Unless you want to open your own company and just be your own sole provider, then that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're still communicating with the audience.
Right. So, or you're communicating with the audience, you're communicating with your publisher, you're communicating, so that it's communication is key.
Yeah, you're still gonna, talk to people. There's no running away.
Yeah, I think the attitude, the curiosity as well. I think it's very important because like you don't want to be stuck with just one thing. You want to explore like different things as well. Like maybe even in game development, you want to explore like maybe not just adventure games, maybe like action games, or maybe like what do you call this, a shooter game kind of thing. Things that you haven't like delivered before kind of thing. So I think, I think it's important to know all these things as a student, especially.
So one of the most important things I tell as aspiring game artists or game developers, we are all very critical people, right? We look at other games and we criticize. We look at other of our classmates' projects and we criticize. But the criticism stops when we look at our own work, right? When whatever work we produce, you go like, oh, that's it, that's the best. But is it really the best? So one of the key skills I think students or aspiring developers should have is a sense of criticizing their own work. Because whatever you produce, whether you are presenting or to your publisher or to your lecturer or to the audience, it reflects the best that you can produce. It's the pride that needs to, So rather than let someone criticize and say, why is the color like that, right? Why can't it be like this? Before it goes out to others, to people, the person that criticizes the most should be yourself. You are your biggest critic. And that's how you bring up the level of detail, the level of art sense. And I think if you talk to any of the big developers out there, the outsourcing studios like people like Faye, right, or CERN, they have that same mindset as well. Whatever they produce, they are entirely satisfied with it, and they go like, this is the best I can produce. And I'm so satisfied with this. When I produce it, no one else can comment on that, right? Because I already committed as much as possible.
The other side of the spectrum now, we got kids who are like, they're such perfectionists, they don't want to send out their things into the world. It's like, getting them to showcase their things in a public space is like pulling teeth. They're like, Misa, I cannot show, I'm too shy. No, it's not good. Oh no, my work is not good. I don't want to show to other people. I wonder who I'm talking about right now. I don't know who I'm talking about. Yeah, it's like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I shy. So now you're trying to bring up their confidence rather than force them to be their own greatest critic. They already are their own greatest critic to the point they will not listen to positive feedback from other people. Right, so now we've got the other side of the problem. How do we deal with that?
Exactly. So like even in NDS, we do have students who like, if we want to ask like, hey, can you share progress? Like, Miss, I haven't finished yet, but I want to see progress. But Miss, it's supposed to be a progress check. So yeah, I think back to like, I think Sophie's question, do you need technical skills or do you not need technical skills? Yeah, it depends on how you want to like, your attitude towards it basically. You can come to your university without anything at all, and then that's when you learn. Because universities are actually places for you to learn more things, more valuable things, not just from your lecturers, but also your peers, and also like, events like this as well. I think that's why I believe in, whenever I teach students, I like to bring them to the event so that they mingle, because students can be a bit shy with certain things, especially with conversations. Okay, no worries, because I was that kind of person before this. I was a shy girl. I do not want to talk to anybody. I think Miss Ike knows. Ike knows. I was very, very shy. I hide behind people, like there's another tall guy, so like, yeah, I'll just sit here. But now, like, because I like the game development, I like the aspect of talking to people, and also like share my experiences. That's why I became a lecturer as well. And yeah, I feel like students alike can also learn a thing or two. Don't worry about your technical skills, because you can always learn, you can always grow and things like that. But for those students who already have the technical skills, I think it's time for you to explore a little bit more, because like there's more to just than doing the things that you're comfortable with. Maybe explore themes that you're not comfortable with, and maybe like grow from them. Maybe at the end of the day, like you'll find that one niche thing or that one thing that you're like, oh my gosh, I like this. I've never touched this before, but I love it so much. Like, maybe like making indie games, maybe, who knows. You've been in maybe, in a team, working in a team doing 3D, then suddenly like, whoa, I think I like 3D kind of thing, So yeah.
It's always magical when that kind of clicking moment happens. You can see it register with the student, where they're like,
Exactly.
I'm gonna make this my whole personality for the next 3 years. And it's like, I love polygons now, woo, you know? So it's just interesting to see that we have the flip side, the extremes of both ends. The ones who are like, they will not criticize themselves, and then we have the ones that only criticize themselves. And how do we deal with that also as, I guess the ones who are guiding them, right? So beyond that, also the question of soft skills, right? Dr. Ike brought it up earlier. Technical skills are very important, but soft skills are becoming increasingly more important for the modern day student, the modern day developer. How do you choose to develop those soft skills within the students? Beyond things like group projects, like is there anything especially that you do as a teacher, to guide them?
Like Ms. Nabila said, right? So competitions. So APU, we always send for competitions.
Okay.
And if there are no competitions, we will create a competition, right? Internal competitions, internal innovation. And in a year, we would actually have close to about 500 competitions.
Wow.
We enter about 1,000. So yeah, I mean, we win about 100, so it's about 10%. But the whole purpose is to bring them out, get them exposed to as many hackathons, as many game jams, innovation competitions. If given half a chance, I would actually establish a Toastmaster club and get them standing in front there and just presenting, right?
True.
So presentation is in every single module. In every single module, they have to present. We try, and group projects is mostly, if you were to say, it's about 75% of all our modules are group projects. And here's a joke, right? I don't know whether you remember, in UOW, there used to be GPS 1, GPS 2, and GPS 3. When we first started...
There was a 3?
GPS 1 and GPS 2, sorry.
Okay.
And FYP.
Yes.
So we had the intention those days, right, to do this. The first GPS that came in, right, they can choose whatever theme they want, but they can't choose the people they work with, right?
Oh.
And the lecturers all knew exactly the individual characters the students have. So we would, behind the scenes, put 2 characters or 3 characters who we knew wouldn't get along just to see the fireworks. And the whole purpose is to build that. Yeah, we did that to you as well. The whole purpose was to test the dynamics of the students to see if they can work with total polar opposites, right? Then the second semester came where they can choose anybody they want to work with, but they can't choose a project. So if I knew a group of students who would do puzzle games and they loved puzzle games, or rather, if they hated puzzle games, then we throw them a curveball. You have to do puzzle games.
Okay.
Right? Because when they go out in the industry, they can't choose what they want to work.
True.
Right? So those are the things that actually have that soft skills, because it's not only about conflict management, it's about time management, it's about adaptability, right? It's about presentation skills. So those are the soft skills. So we try to put students in situations that get them out of their comfort zone. Because if we don't do that in university life, they will never come out of the comfort zone when they go into the adult life.
True. University, after all, is a safe place to fail, right?
It's the only place to fail. No, that's joking.
I'm learning that my suffering was manufactured, though, so...
I was also from UOW, and
Was
I
your
was my
suffering
boss.
also manufactured?
Before this, he was my lecturer, and then he was my boss. And Sophie was my student.
Yeah, I did
as
GPS
well.
1 with her.
Exactly. So yeah, we were part of that picking students for GPS 1, GPS 2. So we're like, oh no, can this person work together? So there was like ifs and buts and no's kind of thing. But we try to balance out like the students. So basically that's in UOW, but in NDS itself, so again, artists, for us, I'm talking about the artist perspective especially, because artists, I know y'all are very, very quiet. You're a very, very shy person. Very like, I know, because I'm one as well. Okay, so one of the things that we try to ask students, especially artists, to talk about is maybe to talk about their art. Have a presentation, talk about their art. And in NDS, we don't have group projects, especially in manga illustration, but we do have, once in a while, we have a group session where they have to do research about certain things and then coming out with a product, etc., and things like that.
Wait, what kind of research do you do?
So basically, they do a lot of research on what that product is. Okay, so we have this thing called novelty goods design, which is a merchandising type of, what do you call this? Course. So what they need to do is they need to come up with a merchandise. So one of the things that they need to do is that they need to work in a team. So this, like, if you like boothing, so this is very similar to that. If you're boothing, it's similar to that. So at the end of the day, you need to create like what do you call this? A product, an actual product. Be it like a plushie, a t-shirt, any type of merchandise actually. So so in that group, what they need to do is that they need to research on the type of products they're going to make, how they're going to set up the booth, who's going to do all this merch, what are their like factories and things like that. So some of the research is like, how much is it? Like, what's the price like, etc., etc.
What's the MOQ, everything?
Yes, MOQ and everything.
Yeah.
So that actually allows them to like also research about what kind of product that's popular in maybe Comic Fiesta, CAFKL, and things like that. So those kind of research like important because nowadays if you go Comic Fiesta, it's all like fan arts or OCs.
No, it's all Genshin, man.
Or Genshin.
It's all Genshin VTubers, man.
Genshin or
that's it.
VTubers. That's like your only option. But yeah, so those are some of the things that we try to.
These are all just anime words to you.
Yeah, so those are some of the things that, in terms of group project, that's what they do to research. And then at the same time, they have to like present their stuff and they need to talk about it. Like, oh, this doesn't work because da 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 da. This doesn't work because da da da. Yeah. Other than that, we also have like. We're going to talk about your illustrations, talk about your artworks, what are your processes especially, because sometimes during interviews, especially interviews from me back then, when I was, interviewed for this company, so they wanted to see sketches. They want to know how you develop these sketches into your final illustrations and things like that, or to your final artwork and things like that. So making them talk is the only way, not really the only way, but it's one of many ways for them to like be more confident with their artworks and to not to sell their stuff, but to actually like promote themselves as well.
Are they reluctant to promote themselves?
It's very hard because they're very, very shy. Some of them don't talk.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
like me.
Not anymore.
Yeah, but those are some of the things that NDS does to actually promote students to actually have soft skills. And at the end of the day, they need to do like invite people to their booths and like talk to them as well. So it's like, yeah. And the other thing also is for them to come to events like this so that they talk to people. What is it all about? One of the game jams was actually quite not too bad. So they actually work. They know how working in a group or actually working in a studio would feel like. So those are some of the things that I would support and tell students to like, okay, go for it. This is good. Yeah.
Actually, to pick your brain in both of you a little bit, right? Some students, they come in and they say like, oh no, I don't want to talk about myself. I must be very humble. We have like this sort of distorted view of the Asian idea of being humble. Some students come in with that. So how do you sort of, I guess, get them to change their mindset? You know, some of them, they get confused between not being humble, but they're being self-depreciating, you know? And that's still something that it's still increasingly common. They will come in and they will say like, oh, I don't want to talk about myself. I don't want to take all the air out of the room. But then they don't talk about anything at all. And then they have nothing to show for themselves. And then when you ask them like, what's up with this? And they go, oh, I have to be very humble, you know? I cannot, it's quite, how do you change their mindset?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it is annoying. But yeah, how do you change their mindset on that?
Oh my gosh. I was one of those. I was one of those people where I just hide all my stuff and I don't like show people. But how we deal with these kind of students, or maybe we need to tell them to like, hey, if you want to not say make it out there, but if you want people to notice you, you need to show them. If it's not like in real life, at least in social media kind of thing, all your works, all your progresses, all your work in progresses, those are actually very, very important. So if you don't want to show me, it's fine, but make sure you show it out there on your social media kind of thing. Because how long are you going to like hide your artwork before people finds out?
Yeah.
And how are you going to get maybe jobs maybe in the future if you don't show your artworks and things like that also? And your games as well, the games that you made, even the ugliest, the difficult ones that you cannot make it, I think those are like your babies that you need to show to people that, hey, I can do this kind of thing. So once your artwork is out there, that's why I'm actually a big, what I call this, I tell my students to social media is so important because like, if you're shy, showing now, just show social media, X, Blue Sky, what I call this, Instagram. Those are actually some of the platforms that you can grow your market out of just Malaysia, but also internationally.
Sure.
Southeast Asia, maybe even like internationally and things like that. Because it's so important to show your work. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
How do you do? There are two ways to look at it, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a maturity process that comes along. I was like that, right? And if you to ask me 25 years ago, I was an introvert. I still am, by the way. I get really shy. I get really stressed when I'm doing public speaking. And I think it's the same with presenting yourself, right? It's something that along the way the students will learn. But I blame that on the certain education system at the secondary level. So how do we build that up? We have to get that at a very early stage when they come in for foundation or when they come in to do their diploma. Get them to do a lot. Put them in front of the class. Get them to show their work. Get them to show other works. Right? Present, for example, Final Fantasy 15. It's not your work, but it gains the confidence for them to stand in front and to talk. And ultimately, it's all about that confidence in what you say. May not be necessary of what your work is. So there's a lot of steps to build it up before they get into where they're confident enough to present their work. So case in point, so like Miss Nabila here as well, right? So now, no problem, right? I just say that no problem. But it's and if you to ask me, right? I don't know how many of you know Ivan, right? Ivan was also an introvert as well.
Huh?
Ivan was an introvert, right? So it's a natural progression. So I wouldn't force them. Yeah, I would encourage them. But it's something that I think that eventually, as they grow up, as they mature, it will go away, right? The trick is, how do you prematurely make it go away?
True.
Right.
True.
And that's where confidence building comes into action.
I think that's amazing, though. Like, the two of you have obviously put in the work to build up the confidence of your students and really get them out there. But on the topic of getting the students out there, right? So we have students that are involved in game development or art and getting out into the scene. And we know that largely we rely on government initiatives, community spaces, independent events such as this one. Thank you, Indie Gem. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you so much. Okay. So for networking, for engagement, as a way to get the students industry ready, are there any kinds of initiatives or events you would love to see and participate in the future? Sky's the limit. Sky's the limit.
Yeah, I mean, this sort of events are fantastic, right? IGDA events where they come together and community driven, and yeah, show events where students can actually do play testing. It's a good way to bring their game out there.
Right.
And it may be very passive at first. They may just say, yeah, you're going to play the game, like, I just stand by the side there. But when you do actual play testing where you are supposed to garner feedback,
Yes.
yeah, I think that is a first step for them to actually bring their works to showcase. That's one. And to force them to actually get out of their shell and talk,
Yes.
right? But I think one of the events that should happen more often is where all the students from different universities come together. And because end of the day, it's all about when you're in your own normal university, you see the sort of same sort of skill set, same sort of mindset that you
The
have.
usual stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you work, you're not going to work in the same sort of group environment. They're going to be different characters, different walks of life. The best time to start is actually at university. So get in touch, work together. I love game jams where they put different universities together. You may even sit down together with industry people. You may sit down with someone from a business background. You have no idea what they're doing. They have no games background, right? But they come in with a business acumen. And that rubs a little bit on you. So those sort of environment actually helps from an innovative standpoint, from a technical skill point, and also from an understanding of how other people think, right? So I would love to see events where different universities collaborate. Industry definitely is part and parcel, but I also would like to see a little bit more cheaper level up. It's $80, right? $80. I know a lot of students won't pay $80, but they will buy lots of expensive frogs. Right? So yeah, I mean, but I think to encourage these sort of things, I would love to see events which are very student related, right? Very talent related, very indie related, and very studios related.
You mean like APU Great Games Week that ran earlier this year? See, I brought it up, so it's okay.
I'm not I'm not plugging it, but yeah, events like Level Up, right? Many years ago, Level Up had a student category as well. Yeah, so things like that. Yeah, but yeah, Great Game Week.
It was great. I was there.
Yeah, I think like what Dr. Ike said, that more events that involves like different universities, that would be great to see actually from different specialization, games, art, design, even graphic designers actually. Like sometimes, UI, UX, I think that's something that it's very, very, very niche, but I know people who are actually doing UI, UX as well for games. So I think this can bring back like these communities together, and students can actually say, oh, there's more things than just drawing. In terms of NDS, there's just more things than drawing manga or comics and illustrations and things like that. You can even draw illustrations for splash art, or maybe like like moving animations kind of thing, or even like visual novels. I don't know why I even always like, can draw manga, visual novel games. I'm like, okay, can.
They're like, have you heard of this niche game called Fate Stay Night? Oh,
so yeah, I think especially for NDS, because they're mostly manga illustration. So one of the best step that to show them that there's more than just drawing art, there's also like game development kind of thing. So game jams really helped, I guess, like in events like Indie Jam, Level Up KL as well. Indie Jam, yes. Thank you, Natalie, for the event. Very, very
Thank you,
nice.
Natalie. You're my hero. Natalie Tay is my hero.
Yeah.
Plan for next year also, okay?
Yay!
Yeah, so events like this actually help students to actually see more than just like, oh, maybe I'm not saying I'm not interested in manga or illustration, but I'm interested in doing like more things like game assets, maybe even like character designs and things like that, background designs. Other than that, for our school, we do have like, we encourage students to open like comic booths in CAF KL, Comic Fiesta. So Comic Fiesta, for CAF KL, the school actually paid, sorry. The school actually paid for the booth, so the students can like one of soft skills as well, to actually sell their artwork, to actually like promote themselves as well, especially printing things and then just talk to people about their stuff and things like that. So that's one of the things that we try to promote students outside of school. Other than that, we also do, I think boothing was one of the biggest things that we do for our students.
So what I'm hearing is that a lot of what we would like to see in the future are events with a lower barrier of entry for accessibility, and also a lot of exposure for confidence building, and also just to generally see the world, break out of the bubble of the university, of the institution. Okay, that's really great. So last question before we go to Q&A is, do you have any advice for game development hopefuls who are hoping to enter the games industry by studying a diploma or a degree first, or even a cert? You can do it.
Okay.
I believe in you.
Okay. Well, at the end of the day, it's a long game, right?
Yes.
So the advice I'll give is, end of the day, figure out exactly where you want to work in. And the first few years when you work, things are not going to go according to your plan, right? Don't go in with a mindset that you're here, you've already known everything. Go in with a mindset to learn. And most importantly, okay, this may not resonate with a lot of students, but I usually tell them this, right? forget about work-life balance for at least the first year. The first year is where you slog, you learn, you get as much knowledge as possible. You have the rest of your life to actually build up the other things. But the first 1 year, 2 years is where you actually build and learn and be mentored by somebody. And that's very, very, very important. Now, I know it's a lot of people are saying work-life balance, yeah, I want my off days and everything. It's nothing wrong with that. I think I'm from a different generation. Yeah. When I first started, it was crazy, right? The first 3 years of working was just crazy. We worked weekends and everything. But that 3 years of my working life, I learned more than anybody else, right? And I would actually say the same thing as well. If you get into a company, do as much as you can, learn as much as you can. Yeah, look after your health. That's most important, right? Look after your health, mental health, physical health. But if you do have the time, dedicate as much as possible to find a mentor, learn from that person, learn from as many people as you can. So yeah, the first 1, 2, 3 years, it's where you actually build yourself up. Then after that, the world is your oyster. Go anywhere, do anything. You can dictate how you work, you can dictate when you work, by all means. But that first 3 years is a critical period.
Yeah, I think should you take diploma or should you take degree? I think that should be a different question because what you need to ask yourself is, what do I want to do? What are the things what is the opportunity for me, kind of thing. Sometimes I know as a student, maybe before becoming a student, like maybe high school students, they wouldn't know what to do. But you know that you like art. So what you need to do is you just need to find that place that you can grow as an artist. That was what I think that I guess students that kind of route that they can go to. And then eventually you'll find that thing that you love a lot, that you love so much. So I start with illustration. And then again, the passion for character design, looking at games, how to make games and things like that. Actually, it feels like, wow, I think I like this. And then that's when came to William Colwing to learn how to make games, how to make game assets and things like that. And then I was in UW as a lecturer. Yeah, and then I do work with different games. I still do a little bit of games. I did participate in Game Jam just a while ago. Wow, it's fun. It's really, really fun. So yeah, I think understanding what you want to do, find that thing that you like, and then just grow, just explore, just grow. You'll find that that thing that you like the most. If it's not today, don't worry. It can be maybe months after that or maybe years after that, it's fine. Even if you can't find during your diploma or your degree, maybe that one time during your final year, I think I like this. That could also be that starting point of your career kind of thing. So it doesn't have to be during when you're studying. It's okay, it's fine actually, because you're still looking for that thing that you want to do. Because we do have students that come saying that I don't know what to do after I graduate. I was like, it's fine. I don't even know what to do when I was graduating as well. Which is why I feel like universities, colleges are where you find the things that you like. Find that passion. Find that passion or and then have that, again, what Dr. I said, find an attitude for it as well. Honestly, you won't improve much on, I'm sorry to say this, but sometimes for some people, improving on art can be very, very slow because you're drowned with assignments. But take that assignment as basically your progress, things that you learn basically. Because coming to a university or colleges is all about learning. It's not about I want to create the best thing. Yes, you can create the best things, but fundamentals, knowing how to do things. When you know how to do all these things, the final product will be, whoa, this is my baby kind of thing, Yeah.
I think that's really great. And it's been so great to have the different perspectives here to talk about game development in academia. So give it up for our panelists, everybody. Once again, thank you so much to Indie Jam for having us. Thank you so much for Exola Curate Academy for hosting us. And I think that's about it. If you have any questions for our respective institutions, please feel free to find us on the show floor. Have a great time, everybody. Oh, yeah. You want to ask a question?
We can open
we can
for
take
a couple
one
of
question.
questions.
Nice.
Yeah, but real quick. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, hello. First things first, I would just want to say that I can relate totally to what Ike and Nabila said. I was also from that dark building in Sabayaya. So I was in
I love it, that
right
building.
before the Exodus. So right after the Exodus. So I'm like, never, yeah, I'm sorry. It's a long time ago. I turned out okay. So my question is, because all three of you are from different academies, from different schools, what do you think is the biggest skill gap or any gaps, if any, from in terms of a student, a graduate going from school to into the industry? Gaps, if any, that you guys are taking to lessen the gap?
Do you want to answer it first?
So the reality is this: there is no university out there that can 100% prepare you for the industry. No university. What we can do is we can give you the fundamental knowledge, we can prepare the attitude, yeah, and we can give you a little bit of the what's going on, yeah, how the industry is, yeah. There will always be a gap. When at every university we join, right, we wanted to lessen the gap. It's all about lessening the gap. We can't. There is no, because each individual studio has their different workflow, has their different level, right? So when I spoke to, for example, Lemon Sky, when I spoke to the founder of Lemon Sky, he said, I understand that you can't create anyone that can immediately come in and be on the same level. What I just want from you is you give me a student that has an eye for detail, the art sense, that can look at it and go like, maybe it should be this color, maybe it should be this composition. The art sense is the one thing that we want to train for. For programmers, we want the logic, right? We want them to understand the core fundamentals. So the programming fundamentals, the data structures, they have the fundamental maths and everything. Because you're just gonna, when you go into a company, it's different. You're gonna do different things. And that's where the learning process is. If you don't have the fundamental, the companies are going to have a harder time bringing you up to speed. So yeah, what we do is we try to lessen the gap. We try to bring in people from the industry to teach. And that's very important because with that, they come the experience of how to survive. It's all about surviving, right, at the end of the day. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think similar to Dr. Ike, I think bringing industry guests to the school, give a talk, and then bringing the students out from the school as well, visiting studios to see what they do. So this is what they do, this is how game industry works, or this is how like comic studio works and things like that. So usually that's what myself and some of the lecturers actually do. So again, it's just to lessen the gap. It's not to like close. It's not to remove the gap, it's just to lessen the gap so that they know that, oh, this is happening. But whatever it is that's happening in the studio can actually just like, they can adapt it with the studio pipeline. Because studios have different pipelines and things like that. Yeah, studio tours, bring in the industry. I think those are one of the things that we try to lessen the gap that way.
So do we have any more inquiries? Just one more? No? Okay. Okay, then that's it for this panel, I guess. Can we have a quick round of applause? Thank you so much.